The last thing we're going to consider here is some nearby questions. So philosophical questions can often be answered only by tackling some nearby questions. So this is the case because often we have really big questions that are difficult to answer on their own, but we can make progress on them by answering kind of subsidiary questions in order to get closer to that big answer. So some of the nearby questions that I've come up with, which I think is worth bearing in mind through all the course of these lectures, and indeed when you're writing your own response to this question, um, is going to be these ones that I've listed here. So question one is going to be, what are the biological differences between boys and girls? We're going to talk about this at the start of the next lecture, thinking about evidence of biological differences, and which is going to come up later in the lecture series as well when we think about whether this is good evidence. And then another question related to this is, are these biological differences averages or are they consistently spread across groups? So it seems like thinking about the range of biological differences is going to be something important because if it turns out that we, have quite a lot of overlap as to where lots of girls can compete with lots of boys on a relatively equal footing, um, then that's going to be something that's going to be a very different situation to whether we have um, a very tight range of performances for girls contrasted against a very tight performance range with boys and with a big gap in the middle. So it seems like the latter situation is going to be easier to justify segregated competition categories than it might be in the first case where there's lots of overlap. The second question is then going to be, how should we understand equality of opportunity? So spoiler for the upcoming lectures, but a lot of the arguments that we're going to see are going to be trying to argue on the basis of equality of opportunity. So people deserve equality of opportunity, and then trying to ground this right, like we said in our earlier strategy, trying to ground this right to segregated competition categories in terms of equality of opportunity. But this only works if we understand equality of opportunity in certain ways. And so it's going to be something that a big task for anybody who wants to do this is going to be to argue why their understanding of equality of opportunity is one that we should prefer, because this is clearly going to be a concept that's going to have lots and lots of different interpretations. And so if only some of them generate certain conclusions, the argument is then going to have to be about why should we choose this understanding of equality of opportunity? Why is that the best one that needs to be undertaken by everybody? Third question is one that we've already talked about. So should each kind of sporting contest be treated the same? So I think there's a lot of room in this question for a kind of nuanced answer. So maybe girls have moral rights to segregated categories in certain kinds of sports, but not other kinds of sports. But then the question is going to be, what justifies that distinction? What's the kind of key factor that means that, yes, in some cases we need girls-only sports versus in some cases maybe integrated sports are going to be fine?